So here are my topics for this presentation. First is going to be about the introduction. The next topic is going to be about the definition of law of demand. And the next topic is about the factors affecting demand. And next, we have the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. And next, we have the exceptions to the law of demand. And finally, I would like to give my conclusion about this topic. So, here is the introduction to the topic. Have you ever wondered why the price of a favorite snack goes up when it becomes more popular, or why a store might offer discounts on certain items to encourage sales? The answer lies in the law of demand, a fundamental concept in economics that helps us understand how price and quantities are demanded in the market. Simply put, the law of demand states as the price of good or service increases, the quantity demand decreases. Conversely, as the price of the good or service decreases, the quantity demand increases. The inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded is at the heart of how markets work. Next, I'm going to brief you about the definition of law of demand. The law of demand is a fundamental concept in economics that states that as the price of a good or service increases, subsequently, the quantity demanded for that good or service will decrease, all other factors remaining constant. In other words, people will buy less of something when it becomes more expensive. This law is based on the idea that consumers have limited resources and must make choices about how to allocate them. When the price of a good or service goes up, consumers are less likely to purchase it because they can't afford to or because they can find a cheaper alternative. Like, if you think about the when the price of the coffee increases, people tend to go to the alternative substance that is tea. So if they find tea to be a cheaper price than the coffee, then people obviously go by preferring tea. So that's how the law of demand is being defined. Next, I'm going to talk to about the factors affecting demand. The factors that affect demand are numerous and complex. One of the most important factor is the price, which has a direct impact on the quantity of a good or service that consumers are willing to buy. As the price of the good or service increases, the quantity demanded decreases, and vice versa. Another factor is consumer income. It affects the ability of consumers to purchase goods and services. If income rise, consumers may be more willing to buy higher priced goods and services. While if income falls, they may be more likely to opt for lower price alternatives. Consumer preferences also play a role in demand, as consumers tend to choose goods and services that they find appealing or desirable. This can be influenced by a variety of factors, such as advertising, word of mouth recommendations, and personal experiences. Other factors that can affect demand include changes in population demographic, technological advancements, and government regulations. Next, we are going to look into the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. The law of demand states that if the price of a good or service increases, the quantity demanded decreases. This inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded is a fundamental concept in economics. For example, when the price of gasoline increases, people tend to drive less and use public transportation more, resulting in a decrease in the quantity demanded of gasoline. Conversely, when the price of gasoline decreases, people tend to drive more, resulting in an increase in the quantity demanded of gasoline. Next, I'm going to talk to you about the exceptions to the law of demand. While the law of demand generally holds true, there are a few exceptions that are worth nothing. One such exception is given goods, which are inferior goods that people consume more of as their income decreases. This goes against the typical behavior of consumers who tend to buy less of an inferior good as the income increases. A classic example of a different good is potatoes. During the Irish potato famine, As the price of produce increased, people had less money to spend on other goods and were forced to buy even more potatoes despite the rising price. Another exception to the law of demand is Veblen goods. It's also known as the Veblen effect, which are luxury goods that people buy more of as their price increases. This is because the higher the price of the item, the more prestige the people would get while buying them. So an example of Veblen good is the designer handbag or luxury car. As the price of these items increases, some consumers may actually want them more. So as I'm going to wrap up this presentation, I've come to the conclusion. So in the conclusion, I would like to state that the law of demand is a fundamental concept in economics that states that as the price of good or service increases, the quantity demanded decreases. Understanding this law is crucial for businesses and policymakers to make informed decisions about pricing and production. We have discussed the definition of the law of demand, the factors that affect demand, the inverse relationship between price and quantity demand, and the exceptions to the law of demand. By understanding these key points, we can better analyze market trends and make strategic decisions for our business and economics. So that's all from my side for the presentation, sir. And I would like to thank you for providing me this wonderful opportunity to provide my views about the law of demand. And once again, thank you, sir.